We are live. It's Dave Kittle's right shoulder and Tony Maritato. Good morning, Dave. How's it going?
Morning. Feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, for those of you watching today, we're talking about um, the five level. Oh, hang on one sec. I got my audio going in the background. We're talking about the 5 levels of marketing. Now, this is from a segment I stole from My First Million podcast. I put a link to that episode in the comments for this video on my YouTube channel. I'll share it in the description as well. Also, full disclaimer, they're doing work in my kitchen. Dave, you and I talked about my kitchen renovation. They're out there working this morning. So I'm going to be muting myself on and off. No guarantees that I won't forget to unmute myself. But did you get a chance, Dave, to watch that My First Million podcast episode?
The one where he was talking about Dana White, I'm pretty sure I saw it. Yeah.
It's awesome because that's just like what we do. We look outside of our scope of business. Like we can only learn so much from looking at what other therapists are doing. So looking at I love looking at Costco. I think the Costco business model is an amazing business model that could easily be adapted to a physical therapy business model. Charge an annual membership. That's where you make all your profit. And then let therapists come in and work from your facility with a 1, 2, 3% markup on what they're doing. You could sell those therapists additional services. Like if they want you to market for them, you do it. If they want you to do billing and collections, you do it. But a Costco business model would be amazing. It would reduce the cost of care, increase access to care, and I think it would provide therapists with a great platform. But let's take a look at this. So Sean Perry, one of the hosts of My First Million, broke it down into 5 levels of marketing. And I want to get a little bit of your feedback on each one of these levels. So the first level, like the most basic, and he basically said, this is what failing companies do. This is what companies that are going to go out of business and not succeed do. They basically just sell their product. They don't do anything else. There's no connection. There's no emotion. There's no community. Off the top of your head, I'm trying to think like what's a business like that pretty much, oh, I've got an idea. What just sells a product?
What just sells a product? Like basic, like a hardware store, like they sell tools and that's it? Or what else do you have in your head?
It could be that, but I would even say like here in Ohio, we have Ace Hardware, which is like a smaller version of, Home Depot, Lowe's. I still think there's connection. Why somebody go to Lowe's instead of Home Depot? Usually contractors are more connected to Lowe's. They've kind of built that culture. I would say when you're looking at something that just sells a product, I would be thinking like the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. Like you're just going, nobody wants to go there. Go to, a county office, go to the tax collector, pay sales tax. Like they have zero interest in doing anything to build community, build culture, give you a positive feeling. It's just transactional at the most basic, lowest level. And it's true. Like if they weren't government sponsored, post office, then you probably wouldn't enjoy the experience and wouldn't do it. The second, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The second level he talks about, and we see this all over PT marketing, is sell a solution, right? Sell a solution to a problem. Now, I know you're in that world. You sell solutions. My solution is very different than yours. But I would love to hear in your words, Dave Kittle Magic, what is the solution that Concierge Pain Relief sells to the consumer?
So we sell pain relief, balance, and getting back to normal. The challenge with it is I tried to create something that's short and quick, but also covers the ortho and the neuro populations. So if I was just doing neuro and I would say something like maybe balance or longevity or something like that. And then if it was just orthopedics, it would be, pain relief or something like that. How about you?
So for me, my solution, while it is a relief to pain, it is a very different kind of pain. I typically sell the solution of my doctor sent me to physical therapy. I don't want to go to physical therapy. I am selling that patient the solution of making their doctor happy, placating their doctor by them going to physical therapy. And you know, I said, Kim, I can't think of her last name. I want to say Nardiker said yesterday, why is physical therapy usually the last option for pain relief? And I said, I don't really like positioning physical therapy for pain relief. I don't want to be a pain relief provider. I don't want that to be the solution I sell. I love selling physical therapy for performance, for longevity, for health, for wellness. I hate selling physical therapy, the commodity, for pain relief. So for me, it's like, you know, it's a different kind of pain. My spouse won't stop bugging me, so you go to physical therapy to make your wife stop bugging you. That's the solution that I sell. Let you feel like you're doing something, let you feel like you're coming in and taking action. But in reality, most of my patients, at least, they're not in it for the change that they would need to make. They're not going to change their lifestyle. They're not going to change their occupation. They're not going to change their sleep and their nutrition and stress management. That's what you do. But the patients that coming to see me, that's not what they're looking for. And certainly that's not what their insurance is paying me to do. So it's a very different solution that we're selling. The third one, now this is where we start to get into some cool stuff. And I've shared the Maslow hierarchy of needs. There's a pyramid, a triangle. I've always said, like, if you're down at the bottom levels, you're not ever going to make any money. If you're selling human necessities for sustenance and survival, there's just no money in that. But as you move up that pyramid, you get into selling a lifestyle. So I'm sure you've got brands in mind. I'm sure you've got ideas in mind. Like, what would be something you associate with a company that sells a lifestyle?
First one that pops in my head would be Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
And more recent would be Lululemon, but I mean, there's a ton in between. But you know, like the Harley Davidson, the lifestyle, it's like, I don't know. You think of like the orange logo, the leather jackets. I mean, so much of a lifestyle that people get tattoos of Harley Davidson's logo, which is like, I don't know. There's not many companies out there that have Americans who tattoo their company's logo on themselves like Harley Davidson. In terms of a lifestyle, it's kind of like you hear a Harley Davidson motorcycle from a block or two away. You hear it coming, and then it gets louder and louder as it comes. Now that I'm saying this out loud, like the rider, the person who owns the Harley Davidson, part of the whole lifestyle is attention. They get eyeballs. They get people looking at them. They get noticed, and that's kind of part of the allure. Also, like the motorcycles are expensive and it takes a while to get one. You order one, and I think it could be 6 to 12 months or something to actually get a Harley Davidson. But once you have a Harley Davidson, once you have a Harley, you're kind of in like this unique tribe, and and also my dad has had motorcycles his whole life, right? So he's never had a Harley though, so he's not a Harley guy. And every person who owns a motorcycle, they will, while riding, they're driving by another motorcycle owner, and they kind of do like a little wave or a head nod or whatever. Harley riders do not do that to other motorcyclists unless they own a Harley. So right. In terms of a lifestyle, it probably almost changes someone's ego. And I'm not sure if I'm making the complete connection to a lifestyle, but it's almost like you're going into like some tribe and community, and you're living that unique lifestyle. It's like such a niche. It's like not people who drive any vehicle, it's a motorcycle, but not any motorcycle, it's a Harley. So what else, either Harley or any other brand or company that pops in your head in terms of selling a lifestyle?
Before I answer, did I ever tell you I have a Harley?
No way. No, you did not. No, you've never said it. And you do not fit the Harley community. Unbelievable. Wow.
So a little context and a little backstory. Man, I think I can't even remember. I was living in Florida, so it must have been like late 1990s, probably. I'm gonna say 95. Yeah, because it's a 93 Harley Sportster. It's an 883. I bought it from somebody that I knew. I rode it for about a year. My longest trip, a girlfriend and I went with two other couples from Sarasota to Key West, Florida. We spent the weekend in Key West, rode it back. It was amazing. I would never trade it for the world, but I rode it and I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't know anybody who hasn't wrecked on a Harley. I am done. I never got into an accident. So now, but literally it's still sitting in my physical therapy clinic to this day. 20 years later, it's just sitting there. I've never sold it. I've never done anything with it. When I went to college,
inside the clinic. Where's it sitting?
It's literally in the clinic in an exam room that doesn't have a door on it. So when patients come in, they're like, there's a motorcycle in your clinic. It's the craziest thing. I will get a picture and I'll share it on social media. You will die laughing.
Wow. Okay,
but
so,
yeah,
real quick, I'm not surprised that you only wrote it for a year or so. Like, because I thought I knew you, maybe I don't know you, and so now you confirm that maybe I do know you because you don't fit the mold of a Harley rider. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But it's mostly doctors, it's lawyers. Like when we would go every Sunday, we'd go out to a place that was like an outdoor music festival. They were all like 50, 60, $80,000 Harleys. These were wealthy professionals who were just looking to find a little bit of excitement and a little bit of an edge. So back to selling a lifestyle. I mean, CrossFit sold a lifestyle. They were very different. They were intentionally different. There are so many businesses. And I think within the world of physical therapy, this is where we can start to have those conversations. I really think the clinic of 1985 needs to die. And I'm not saying that because, they're seeing more than one patient at a time or they're doing ultrasound and e-stim. I don't care about any of that stuff. I think ultrasound and e-stim needs to make a comeback with an edge, and I think it would do tremendous. But what I'm saying is clinics need to lose the old clinical vibe, and they need to build a culture and a community. Curves, fitness for women, it became massively popular. They made hundreds of millions of dollars. They oversold the franchise. It was so popular, but they sold a lifestyle to a specific group of people. Now that's actually dipping a toe into level 5. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I do think physical therapists need to embrace that identity, embrace that lifestyle that they sell. And that's where you bring in the mindfulness, you bring in the meditation, you bring in the nutrition and the sleep. How do you know somebody does CrossFit? That's the first thing they tell you.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you knew that joke.
So that's the kind of thing we need to bring back into the profession, especially at the private practice level. So level 4, selling a feeling. And this is another one. Now you're not in this stage yet, but you're going to get there. You just had a baby. You're a young dad. It's an amazing time of life. When I think of selling a feeling, and when I teach a marketing course, like to my private groups and stuff, that I use myself as the example. Right now it's April, almost May in Ohio. I am pasty white. I look in the mirror, and if I cut off my head and I didn't know it was me, I look like a pasty white, frail, broken old man. Like that's the way I see myself in the mirror. That is not a feeling that I want to perpetuate. So when I think of like when I used to go to the CrossFit gym, when I lift or work out on my own, when I'm running, when I'm doing any kind of self-improvement thing, I am trying to change the person I see in the mirror to the person I see in my head. And so I want all of those things, and that feeling of being resilient, that feeling of being strong, that feeling of seeing you go and play baseball, like there's got to be such a good feeling associated with that, knowing that you can hit a home run, knowing that you can run the bases, knowing that you can do all that stuff. I'm trying to think of companies that sell that feeling. I'm not quite sure I can think of any off the top of my head, but what do you think about that whole level 4 feeling, selling a feeling?
Selling a feeling.
Like, do
Possibly.
you buy anything, or do you hire anyone that makes you feel a certain way, and that's part of why you do it?
Feeling. Well, initially, as you were talking, I was thinking like any of these commercials or these Facebook ads for like any of these like med spa like retreat type things
Yeah.
where um it's selling like I don't know, multiple things I guess, but like the feeling of of like change or relaxation or unplugging or like your like health and wellness type, retreat type. And we've had patients and clients that will go to, I don't know, like Mexico, or they'll go other places, other states or other country. I think Arizona has a bunch of, Florida probably has a bunch. These retreats or these med spas where you go and you stay for 7 to 10 days or something. And it's kind of like a vacation, but it's not like a vacation where you go and tour the city or that country or whatever. You go and you're like at that resort, and it's like, massages and a whole bunch of like probably lotions and potions and that type of stuff. But they're not selling like, hey, you're going to get a massage and then you're going to get
Right.
like, wined and dined, and you're going to be in this dry sauna and this hot sauna and whatever. But they're selling like that, I don't know, like that rejuvenation, like that whole world, like that whole experience, is one thing. In terms of like what I buy, I mean, I'm not saying I spend an unlimited amount, but in terms of like baseball cleats, yeah, I'm still playing in a weekend men's league. Whether it's baseball cleats, I don't spend top dollar for the cleats or the like my wooden maple bats or things like that. But I would say I spend more time preparing. I'm the most prepared, obviously, as a physical therapist. I'm the most prepared physically for when we start playing. And when we play with guys that are 25 years old, 30, 40, and even some 50-year-old guys. And the season starts and a whole bunch of guys have muscle strains and injuries right away because they're not prepared. So in terms of selling a feeling, that's not necessarily a purchase, but I am I do feel like, and I know the importance of preparing myself for the men's league, so that I can perform the best, so I can continue to play, so that I don't have, injury riddled, spring summers or falls. But yeah, in terms of product or things that I buy, selling a feeling, I'm not sure if I would say that I am buying like a $200 wooden bat because of a feeling. However, consumers justify that all the time. If they're gonna, and you, Tony, with your boys, like there's cheap like Easton metal and wooden bats, and then there's like Marucci, which is like one of the most expensive wooden bats that are probably around $150 to $200. And with a wooden bat, it can crack at any time. It could crack, the first time you use it in a live game. So yeah, how about this? Selling a feeling, the parent like you that's buying that equipment for the kids. Because I remember I was lucky enough when I was younger that my parents bought me I can't remember. Oh my gosh. One of the popular metal bats at the time. And I think it was like $200 then. And that was like in like late 90s. And $200 for a bat then is still insane now. But my parents were not buying. I mean, they're buying the bat because they want me to perform and play well, but they want to see me succeed, right? So maybe that's a feeling.
I think it's all of it. So I think you specifically saying you do all this warm up and you do have your pre-routine, and you see other people getting hurt that are maybe younger than you and other stuff. The routine makes you feel smart. You feel smart because you're doing that, and you feel good that you believe that you're preventing those injuries from happening to you. That makes you feel good. That is the feeling. So somebody selling that feeling would want to capture the language that lets people understand that we recognize this is really what we're trying to sell. If I go buy food, I buy something with an organic label and I pay 20, 30, 40% more. I don't know. Does it make a difference? Is it really that much better? I have no idea, but it makes me feel like a good parent buying organic food for my kids. It makes me feel like a successful adult knowing that I have the money to afford to buy the organic food. You know, buying new cleats, it makes you feel like you run faster, whether you actually do or you could run in the old cleats. We have Play It Again Sports here. And feeling works both ways. So like you mentioned, we have kids on the team that will buy a $300-400 bat for a little league game that they get to bat once or twice because we have too many kids on the team. I conversely feel good, feel smart, feel like I have an advantage because I take my kids to Play It Again Sports and I let them buy a $20 bat or a $30 bat that somebody else used for 3 games and they don't have any use for it and they sold it and now they're reselling it. So I feel smart. I feel good running in old shoes because it makes me feel like, well, I don't need $300 running shoes because I can run in these old beat up, 5-year-old Asics. There's always a feeling involved. The trick is identifying the feeling and capturing the language around that feeling so your patients can appreciate and recognize like the fact that you don't necessarily right off the bat know the feeling means that the brands that you're buying aren't conveying the value of that feeling. You feel it, you just don't know how to put it into words, and that's lost revenue, that's lost profitability. And I would say in our clinics, the same thing. Like what I do with a patient almost doesn't even matter. But the fact that I will sit there and listen lets them feel a level of importance. I had a guy, this is crazy. I usually never freak out. I am the most laid back therapist. You could do just about anything and be like, okay, that's fine. This dude walks in 2 weeks post-op, rotator cuff repair with biceps tenodesis. Like every local surgeon just goes crazy about absolutely no active elbow flexion for 4 weeks, absolutely sling for, 4 to 6 weeks, 24 hours except bathing. This guy walks in talking about Harleys. He's a Harley repairman and mechanic. No sling, no sign of surgery. He gives me the referral. He was like, yeah, I just had surgery 2 weeks ago. Look, I'm doing amazing. And he's like moving his arm and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, you had surgery? Like I was genuinely shocked. And he was so proud because he said that he had rehabbed, air quotes, rehabbed his shoulder in 2 weeks last time and went back to repairing Harleys. But this time it's 2 weeks and he doesn't feel like he could go back yet. And I'm like, you can't do this stuff. And so we went through this whole education. It was like, you've told me more in 3 minutes than my surgeon said throughout the whole, pre-op, post-op, everything. He felt good that I took the time to explain that stuff to him, and I think that's so much of what we sell in PT, whether it's insurance or cash. We sell that feeling of importance. We give patients attention, pay attention. That's the unique value. And that's what's going to put your practice ahead of somebody else's, even if you charge more. So finally, go ahead.
Real quick. So sorry. Level 4, there's 2 groups that do this the best. I can't believe I didn't mention this ahead of time. There's 2 groups that run a ton of TV advertisements, Tony. 2 groups that sell stuff. When I say there's I would say the one group sells the most amount of advertising, this category, and then the next category I think is second most TV advertisements in the United States. Do you know who I'm talking about? Either category?
Well, for a minute, I thought you were talking about politics. I thought you were going to talk about Republicans and Democrats, but no.
No. Other than that. So that there's 2 groups. One group would be the cat and dog food brands that sell a feeling, and you're buying this dog food, but it's never like, I mean, yeah, they'll say like, oh, we got these minerals and vitamins and this and that, but like the owner and the dog and the cat, smiling and going on whatever, running around the house or whatever, that they sell that feeling. But the best is all the pharmaceutical companies. I'm not saying it's great. Obviously, I don't take any medication. I don't take any medications. And I do believe that most of these pharmaceuticals are terrible. That's my stance real quick. But as a business person and as a category, I saw a stat that the pharmaceutical companies in general, all the big companies sell or they buy around 75% of all the advertisements on TV commercials in the United States. 75%. That's insane. Look at the structure of every commercial.
Yeah.
The funny thing about their commercials is that when they get to the point of side effects may include stroke, nausea, death, whatever, like the people in the commercials are always smiling. So
Yeah.
that's funny. Next time you watch a commercial. But as a category, they are always selling the feeling of like, you look at the person in the commercial, they're not saying, they never take a video of the person like going in their medicine cabinet and like getting a glass of water and like taking the medication. That is literally never in the commercial. Selling a feeling of, I mean, any of these medication, any these meds from the pharmaceutical companies, it's showing the person like in the beginning they're itching or they're whatever their symptom is, and then they're like happy, they're like with their friends, and there's like a fountain and they're in a park and they're having a picnic, and it's like life is beautiful and it's amazing, and it's like in a whatever 30-second commercial. All these pharmaceutical companies, they probably hire marketing agencies and they sell the feeling. Now it could be like a normal life or a happy life. I think that's kind of what they show. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like I totally didn't think about that. I think the funny thing is back in the day, John, the therapy man is here. Back in the day, I remember they used to speed up the audio when they would give all the side effects. And I think they realized nobody even cares. They just want the drugs. Like, I don't care what the side effects, stroke. I don't care. Give me the drugs for dry mouth or whatever you might be taking. That is absolutely, that's hilarious. So Joey's here. Joey says selling the future and not the features. I love it. I haven't heard somebody say that yet.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 minutes. I need to get my kid to high school. Let's talk about the last one, which is selling an identity. Now, I'm a huge James Clear fan. I love Atomic Habits. I love everything he's done. You hear authors or people that want to get into writing say you can't make money writing. There are plenty of cases of people who had made ridiculous amounts of money writing. But I've always had the dream, and maybe one day I'll do it, of creating a physical therapy program around Atomic Habits, because that's what we should be doing. We should be selling that transformation, the journey, the process. And with that, he always talks about the identity. Now, you have an identity. You showed up last episode. You had swollen eyes. You had, all of this allergy stuff going on, but you are somebody that shows up to do the show. You don't cancel for that. When I was making the switch from primarily lifting for most of my workouts to running for most of my workouts, I felt like I took on the identity of a runner. What would a runner do? A runner would run through the rain, would run through the cold, would get the clothes they need, would do the things they need to do to go run. And of course, on the most extreme levels, we see this in religion. We see this in politics. We see this in CrossFit, back to CrossFit again. It's that identity of what you are, who you are, the people you belong to. I do think it can happen. I think it starts to get a little bit harder in most conventional business models, but I know physical therapists that absolutely have gone down that road of selling an identity, and we are the kind of people who do this thing. What's been your experience with that?
I can't think, as you were saying, I can't think of which therapy practice or owners have been doing the selling of the identity in a box. Like you said, going back to your reference again to CrossFit, I think and it's fun selling identity in a box and CrossFit box. So like it's fitting, but CrossFit does it way better in terms of physical therapy. I don't have any,
I've known some faith-based physical therapy groups. I've known some individuals outside of physical therapy, but still in fitness, where they've gone down that road. I don't know if it's and somebody's gonna maul me, Seventh-day Adventist or some sort of religious group that has a like fitness, personal health component to it. But seriously, like what other kind of business? We see cults. We see was it Jamestown where they drank the Kool-Aid? Like what about that group? I don't want to say the name, but where they thought they were going to be rescued by aliens and,
Yep,
and
I
they
was
cut off,
about to say it, but you said don't say it.
cut off body parts and like, I mean, when you talk about raving fans, right? Like it doesn't go any deeper than that.
So, that real quick, these types of folks typically are like, I think they've had some previous trauma and issues. They're kind of meandering through life. They don't have an identity. And that's how these folks end up in these groups that you're just talking about, whether it's the borderline, not even a religion, or it is a religion or a group or whatever you want to call it, some following, some tribe or a cult, or there's, a lot of blurred lines there. Those folks, I think, don't have some purpose or mission or identity. And then they find that type of a group. And then that becomes their identity.
And this is where I get scared. This is where I get uncomfortable. This is where I get weird about some therapy providers who start to cultivate that kind of relationship. Like I shared on social media yesterday, I had a new patient come in. Now she was actually a patient of ours in the past. We kind of knew her. She didn't do well with physical therapy for a condition. She went to another provider through her employer. And the quote was, I went for 2 years, and after a year and a half, I was pain-free. And I'm like, so now she's absolutely fanatic about this particular branded kind of intervention. She could have done anything for a year and a half and probably would have been pain-free. And so, but she is so sold on this. And I think this is what you see when you go down certain paths of meditation and yoga and Pilates and other things. The more we see like, Barnes, what's his name? John Barnes.
Yeah. Yes. His following is like a cult. Yes. And you have to go to Arizona. Actually, I went to Sedona years ago, and we drove by his place. Like it's like Therapy on the Rocks or On the Edge or something like that, right?
Yeah.
His following and his course or whatever, that's a little scary out there, Tony. Apparently, like, therapeutically, it looks, I'm sure it's great, but he does have some almost like, I don't know, like Jesus type of following in the therapy world. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. And so anyway, like you said, I think the mechanics of what they're doing is probably helpful and good and beneficial. But once you start crossing into this fanaticism, evangelizing, like it's just too far, and so, John Barnes got it going. All right. I hate to end it short. We usually do 60 minutes. I need to go. Dave, thank you so much. Think of a parting shot. I'm going to say for my parting shot, the better you understand these 5 levels, the better you can control the communication and the narrative about what you do, the better you can position yourself for success. I mean, it really is that simple. But if you don't understand the levels, the language, you really can't direct your future.
Parting shot, the reminder of selling a feeling, which was level 4. If you can, ethically and appropriately touch the emotions of your patients and clients, or the family members of your patients and clients, whoever is the decision maker who is either, deciding for the patients to go to Tony's office or to have us come and do mobile concierge visits in New York City, we should all strive to help them see the path to conservative, natural treatment, movement, all that type of stuff. Selling that feeling, that those emotional triggers. That would be my parting shot for today.
Yeah. If you don't use these powers for good, somebody else is going to use them for evil. It's that simple. All right, guys. Thanks so much, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.